Okay, let's unpack this a bit. You know that feeling? Maybe you're in a really long meeting and your brain just, well, feels like it's running on empty.
Oh, yeah, definitely know that feeling.
Or maybe you're like pushing through the final stretch of a big project and just staying sharp feels like a marathon.
Totally.
Well, it turns out that challenge, keeping up peak performance over time, it's not just an office thing. It's absolutely vital in high-performance sports. And today, we're diving deep into one that demands incredible sustained power: volleyball.
Exactly. Yeah, think about a really grueling volleyball match. We're not just talking a quick point here and there, are we?
No way.
You've got these super long rallies, sets that can drag on, going back and forth.
Right.
So what is it that lets a hitter keep launching those powerful spikes? Keep that spring in their step, the force in their swing, not just at the start, but like deep into the fifth set.
That's the core of it, isn't it?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
That's what we're really digging into today. The crucial roles of endurance and stamina.
Right. So maybe you haven't spiked a volleyball since high school gym class, or maybe never.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you've ever wondered what it really takes to maintain, a high level of performance when the demands just keep coming, well, this deep dive is for you.
Definitely.
We've looked at how the rules and just the flow of volleyball create these endurance tests.
And the coaching side, too, the philosophies coaches use to tackle this.
Yeah, and the basic principles of how athletes actually develop the physical capacity to, to meet those demands.
So our mission here is to really get under the hood,
Yeah.
understand how endurance and stamina truly underpin consistent attacking power in volleyball.
We want to give you a clear picture of the factors, the real ingredients that let a player stay dangerous offensively throughout a whole tough match.
Let's get into it.
Okay, so let's start right there. Attacking in volleyball. It's not exactly a gentle tap over the net, is it?
Not at all. I mean, a forceful attack, that's a full-body explosion.
Right.
Think about the whole sequence. The approach run, that explosive jump, the powerful twist of the torso, the actual arm swing. It takes a huge burst of energy.
Right.
Now, layer onto that the fact that a competitive match can easily go 5 sets.
Long haul.
And each set might have tons of these long, intense rallies. So we're talking repeated, high-impact movements with very little real rest in between.
And that's where it gets really fascinating for me.
Yeah.
It's not enough to just have the raw strength for one or two massive hits.
Nope.
It's about having the endurance to keep doing it, repeating those explosive actions, point after point, set after set. That feels like the real measure of an attacker's conditioning.
Spot on. And this ability, this consistency in generating force, even when the match drags on, it doesn't just happen. It's fundamentally tied to the athlete's physical conditioning. That base level of fitness is what allows them to keep delivering powerful attacks when fatigue inevitably starts creeping in.
Makes perfect sense. So let's dig into that foundation then. The physical conditioning itself, the stuff we looked at, really emphasizes the role of strength and conditioning coaches.
Yeah, and what's really interesting there is how tailored these plans are. It's not just, generic gym workouts.
Right. Not one size fits all.
No. A good coach designs a plan looking at the athlete's age, their current skill level, their specific position on the court. Are they an outside hitter needing power, a quick middle blocker, a setter needing agility, and their personal performance goals?
So the aim of these customized plans is pretty clear then. Build the physical tools that directly help them play better.
Exactly. We're talking about building muscle strength for those powerful hits, obviously, but also the stamina to repeat them without power dropping off a cliff.
And it's not just strength and stamina, is it? Agility and coordination seem huge, too.
Oh, vital. Think about a hitter having to quickly adjust their footwork for a bad set, or just the coordination needed for that perfect timing between the jump and the swing. Those elements are massive contributors to attacking effectively, especially over a long match.
It sounds like this physical prep starts way, way earlier than, elite training camps. We saw info pointing to developing basic motor skills back in elementary school.
Yes. Things like running, jumping, throwing basic stuff.
Like the building blocks.
Absolutely. Those fundamental skills, locomotor, object control, coordination, agility, balance, flexibility, they form the bedrock, the foundation. Without that solid base, it's way harder to build the kind of high-level endurance you need for sustained attacking in volleyball later on.
Okay, so an athlete's got this base fitness. How do they train specifically for the endurance and stamina needed for those repeated attacks? It can't just be playing more games, right?
Well, playing and practicing skills are obviously crucial, but the sources we saw really highlight that targeted physical prep is just as important for building endurance.
How so?
Well, one key thing is training frequency, consistently working on the physical side alongside the skill work.
Makes sense. You can't just do one or the other.
Right. And again, that personalized approach comes back. Strength coaches design programs specifically to build cardiovascular endurance. The heart and lungs working efficiently for a long time and muscular stamina.
Which is the muscle's ability to keep firing.
Exactly. Keep exerting force repeatedly. So for an attacker, this might mean drills that mimic jumping and hitting over and over, maybe with short recovery times built in.
Kind of simulating game condition.
Precisely.
Yeah.
We also saw mentions of long-term athlete development frameworks.
Right.
And while we didn't get into the nitty-gritty of every stage, the big idea is that building serious endurance is gradual. It's about consistently challenging the body bit by bit and letting it adapt over years.
So no quick fixes.
Definitely not. There are even guidelines about annual training hours, making sure there's dedicated time just for this physical preparation, not only skill practice.
That actually connects to something else we saw. The idea that athletes just need to be physically ready to handle the demands of regular practice and matches.
Yes, it implies a certain base fitness isn't just nice to have, it's practically a requirement to even train effectively.
Because if you're exhausted halfway through practice, you're not learning skills properly, your focus drops, and, crucially, your risk of injury goes way up.
Okay.
So building that foundational endurance is key just to get the most out of every training session.
All right, so let's shift gears a bit. A player's put in the work, they've built this endurance base, now they step onto the court for a long 5-set battle. How does that conditioning actually show up? How does it help maintain attacking power?
This is where you really see the payoff, right? Because as a match goes on, fatigue is going to happen. It's inevitable.
Sure.
You'll see it manifest physically, maybe slightly lower jumps, a fraction slower arm swing, less precision, less power overall in their attacks.
But the well-conditioned player
Can mitigate those effects much better. Their body is simply better equipped to handle that sustained effort. They can maintain a higher level of performance for longer. And it's not just about their physical state during the match, right?
Right.
Preparation beforehand matters too. We saw stuff about warm-ups.
Absolutely critical. Things like dynamic stretching arm circles, leg swings, torso twists, get the muscles ready for action.
Loosening up, getting blood flow going.
Exactly. Improves flexibility, range of motion. And then there's the individual ball warm-up, just getting touches, feeling the ball.
Right, activating those specific hitting muscles.
Yep. Gets the neuromuscular pathways firing. It prepares the body for the very specific demands of playing, especially those explosive attacking movements.
And seems basic, but hydration came up too.
Oh, huge! Sounds simple, but being even slightly dehydrated can wreck performance.
How so for an attacker?
Well, it can hit energy levels, muscle function, even focus and decision-making. So slower reaction times, maybe not jumping quite as high, the swing might lose some pop.
So keeping those fluids up is non-negotiable for keeping the attacks effective.
Absolutely. A simple but vital piece of the puzzle.
Okay, we focused a lot on the physical side, which makes sense. But I mean, anyone who's watched a tense volleyball match knows there's a massive mental component.
Oh, for sure.
How does mental toughness factor into sustaining attacking power?
It's incredibly important. The sources talk about it as, like, the ability to stay focused, stay composed, especially when the pressure's really on.
Like at a tight fifth set.
Exactly. Or after making an error, being resilient enough to shake it off and get right back to executing.
So even when your body is screaming, "I'm tired," that mental strength can help an athlete push through, keep their effort level high during those killer rallies.
That's exactly it. It's like a mental fuel tank. Mental toughness lets players stay locked in on what they need to do, execute their skills, even when they're feeling the physical strain.
Interesting. It can almost change how tired they feel.
Yeah, or at least their willingness to push past that feeling, keep driving, keep attacking effectively.
And this isn't just something you're born with, right?
Yeah.
These mental skills can be trained.
Absolutely. We saw mentions of techniques coaches and athletes use. Things like setting really clear, specific goals to maintain focus during a match, using visualization, mentally rehearsing successful attacks to build confidence,
I can see that.
and mindfulness practices to help stay present and focused on this point, not the last error or the potential outcome.
Wow. So training the mind is just as important as training the body for sustained performance.
They really go hand in hand. These mental tools make athletes more resilient, more consistent attackers, especially over the long haul of a match.
Okay, one last piece then. The bigger picture recovery and how this endurance develops long term. You can't just like cram for endurance week before a tournament, can you?
Huh. Definitely not. It's all about the cumulative effect. Now, our sources didn't dive super deep into specific recovery methods,
Right.
but it's widely understood that proper recovery, think adequate sleep, good nutrition, maybe active recovery techniques, is essential.
Why is that so key for endurance?
Because that's when the body repairs itself and adapts to the stress of training. That's how you actually build more endurance over time. Without recovery, you just break down.
And that links back to what you said earlier about long-term development, that sustained progressive building of capacity.
Exactly. It's not about quick fixes. It's the consistent training week after week, year after year, coupled with paying attention to recovery and overall conditioning that builds lasting endurance, the kind that lets you perform at a high level consistently.
It's like building a house. You need that solid foundation first.
Perfect analogy. Consistent training and recovery are that foundational work. That's what supports the ability to keep attacking powerfully match after match.
Okay, great stuff. So let's try and wrap this up. If we boil it all down, what's the main takeaway from our deep dive on endurance, stamina, and volleyball attacks?
I think the core message is this: being able to consistently hammer powerful attacks throughout a long, tough volleyball match. It's deeply fundamentally rooted in having a strong base of both physical endurance and stamina.
It's not just about that initial burst of power.
No, it's the capacity to repeat those explosive movements again and again. And that capacity is built through consistent, smart, often individualized physical conditioning.
And supported by that mental toughness we talked about.
Exactly. Body and mind working together to sustain performance.
And for you listening, someone interested in gaining knowledge efficiently, thinking about this through the lens of sports performance, well, it can offer some really potent insights. Insights into why sustained effort and solid preparation matter in pretty much any demanding field you're in.
Yeah, which kind of leads to an interesting question for you to chew on. How might these principles we've discussed, building physical and mental endurance like a volleyball attacker, how might they apply to your world, your job, your hobbies, whatever demands peak performance from you?
Are there parallels?
Worth thinking about, right, between the demands on that player and the challenges you face day to day in maintaining your own high performance.
Definitely some food for thought there. And hey, if this has sparked your interest and you want to dig even deeper,
Yeah.
you might find it really rewarding to look into resources on sports physiology,
Yeah.
or maybe different endurance training methods, or even the science behind mental resilience and peak performance.
Yeah, there's a whole universe of information out there that builds on these ideas. Lots to explore.
For sure. Well, thanks for taking this deep dive with us today.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in.
We really hope it's given you a valuable look at how crucial endurance and stamina are for keeping that attacking power up in volleyball. And maybe even spark some ideas about sustaining performance in your own life, too.